Hello, I'm here. I'm here with my friend Hattie Tap, and Hattie Tap, I'm gonna ask you some questions. Okay, starting off, I'm gonna discuss this quote with you. Okay, I'm gonna read it out loud.
Okay.
A man may alienate some branches of his property and give up his right in them to others, but he cannot transfer the rights of consciousness unless he could destroy his rational and moral powers or substitute some other to be judged for him at the tribunal of God. By Elisha Williams. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, Elisha Williams. I'm reading off my phone. I have a note written out. Okay. He strongly believed in natural rights, which is the rights that the people of this time believe that you got from God, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he also believed in the freedom of conscience, the freedom to speak for yourself. Okay. And so starting off, I'm gonna ask you some questions. So, what do you think that he meant when he said rights of conscience?
The right to free speech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so it's like basically okay. So you know how you have your own inner compass, really? It really shows you the difference between right and wrong, and so he's really saying that the people in this time, their moral compass is, guiding them through it, and it kind of helps them know what to speak about, like speaking about something unfair, like the right of consciousness, really. Yeah. So why do you think that he compared conscience to property in the quote where he said, a man may alienate branches of his property and give up his fight in them to others, but a man cannot transfer the rights of consciousness unless he could destroy his rational and moral powers. So why do you think that he used the comparison of consciousness to property?
I don't know. Maybe to show like ownership, like you would own property. I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of like how you can give up land. I can give you land or money, but I can't give you my sense of like my gut feeling, my what I feel my guilty for. Like I can't give you what I think is right or wrong. You have to decide that for yourself. So, do you think that having a good moral compass and stuff is more valuable than holding property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
elaborate on that.
Well, because like, if you were to take it to like, let's say we deduce it down to a biblical standpoint. Okay. You can't take your things with you when you die. You can't take your house, your property, your money with you when you die. But if you are a Christian and you're living for God, then those are things that are important. Is a good moral compass and your good standing with God and how you treat people. The Bible actually says that the inner conscience of a man dictates the right and wrong. So I think it's Luke says like to a man in his consciousness, if it rubs your spirit, that is sin to you. So you can take that with you, but you can't take your stuff with you. But your conscience dictates, right and wrong for yourself and how to treat others, and that you can take with you.
Okay, that's a really good point that you made there.
Thank you, Father.
So what do you think he means by being judged at the tribunal of God? So basically, this is kind of what you just said about how your consciousness is tied to your face. So if you take it outside kind of the religious aspect, like you just explained, it's really like the ultimate accountability. Like you, like answering to yourself. Like you have to deal with your consequences of your actions and like the way that they make you feel, whether that's good or bad. So when you take it as a like in the religious factor, you're kind of thinking of it as answering to God, which that's your faith, and so like you have to deal with the consequences that you feel through Him.
Right.
Like your punishment for your sin and stuff like that. So, like you said, it's just having that to answer to, whether it be yourself, if you're not that spiritual, or God, if that's what you live for.
True.
So, okay, so how does this connect to freedom of religion or freedom of speech? In the Bill of Rights, I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that.
I mean, it just kind of like liberates everyone to stand for themselves
Yeah.
and to stand for how they believe and how they want to walk in their own way and their own families and how they want to take care of things for themselves. Like, I think that's one thing that is pretty great about America, is that all the way from the beginning then to now, everyone has the right to choose.
So, so the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, do you think that this freedom, do you think that it has, like, a limitation, or you think it's, like, it's always? Like, is there limits for that?
I mean, I definitely think there's social limits.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's necessarily federal limits, but there's definitely social limits. In today's time, there's social limits on religion, there's social limits on what you say and how you speak. But federally, unless it's incriminating.
Yeah.
I need 4.
Okay, sorry. I'm at work currently, and I had to make a little cut, but I'll cut that out. Okay. So, do you think that people today can still believe, like, do you think that people's consciousness can be controlled by others in this day? So, like, at this time in history, so the slave masters, they are manipulating the slaves into believing, like, this is what's best for them. Like, they keep them at this brain, like, by not teaching them, not giving them education, they're keeping them at this state that thinks that they're worth nothing, like they can't have anything else apart from this. So it's keeping them vulnerable, and that's what's keeping them, as the slaves. So do you think that in this day that can still happen, that your consciousness can be controlled by others, basically?
I think so. Maybe on a lot smaller of a scale.
Yeah.
Maybe not such a larger scale. But I definitely do think, like, it's like I said, socially, I think socially groups of people can control other forms of other people's consciousness. Like I am conservative myself, but like the left-wing movement, I feel like they kind of suppress people's consciousness a lot through media and through propaganda. I feel like they kind of suppress a whole subculture and category of people's consciousness by this like super tight narrative. And I think that sometimes the government kind of does that too to us, of like, especially with federal funding and things like that, like you have to stay in this little box and you can't get out of that box or there's consequences. So maybe a little bit.
So do you think that people, in like another aspect of that, do you think that people ignore their consciousness, like maybe to fit in with like the left wing, like they, maybe they think what they think is right is not what they're doing, because there's this whole group of people, and they're trying to look cool and stuff like that.
Definitely. I especially think for like the younger generation, like our generation, is our conscience is super swayed by the left-wing movement, or even if you want to take it to the other side, there is a right-wing movement as too. I know that's more on the older people, but I definitely think that there's a kind of balanced suppression there of trying to fit in with what's popular. I feel like that's always been the thing. Like even in that time, there was people hopping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
With the Bill of Rights and all that stuff, because I think that people's consciousness will be suppressed all throughout history in certain aspects.
Okay.
Hi, how are
Thank
you?
you.